I'm Fletcher Rhoden, and this is Quotes and Quips. Today, words of wisdom from Stan Lee. Quotes and Quips is brought to you by my website, FletcherRhoden.com. That's where you can find links to my author page at Amazon.com. That's where you can buy my books in paperback or for Kindle or in audiobook format. There's also a link at my website to my Spotify artist page. That's where you can download my records in their various subgenres. Last year, 2024, I had a 4-record set called Quadrilogy, and this year I've got a brand new pop album called I'm Possible. Those and my other albums you can download anywhere, all over the internet. But at my website, there's free music and stuff you can only get there. So check it out. Okay, Marvel Comics' Stan Lee gives us this quote. I never really thought of myself as that much of a success. Well, I never really thought of myself as that much of a success. It's an interesting quote from a man who is, of course, such a tremendous success, one of the publishers and editors and creators with the team at Marvel Comics. He participated in the creation of characters like the Fantastic Four and the Amazing Spider-Man. I guess it would have been pronounced the Amazing Spider-Man, but he had to put a hyphen in the middle there. So there must be a reason for the hyphen, and the reason must be the pronunciation. Because Batman didn't have a hyphen, Superman didn't have a hyphen, Aquaman didn't have a hyphen. That's why you emphasize bat or super or aqua. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So Stan Lee, certainly a qualified success. Why would he say this of himself? Well, it speaks to a lot of things we've looked at on Quotes and Quips. A lot of it is, I think, is about perception. A lot of times we're made to feel inadequate by the people around us because of their feelings of inadequacy. If someone is narcissistic and fearful that you may provide some kind of threat to their dominance, they may try to belittle you. A narcissist knows themselves to be inadequate. You can read about that in my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play. So the narcissist cannot elevate themselves by pride of accomplishment, because that's beyond the ability of the narcissist. The narcissist prefers rather to suppress people and push them down. And if you can't bring yourself up, push other people down, so that relatively speaking, you're still above them. That's where you get a lot of people knocking other people all the time. So it could be that Stan Lee endured that early in life, and that he always felt that he wasn't that much of a success because it was instilled in him that he never would be. You know, there are two mindsets in the human psyche. You can also read about this in the same book, Tracking the Lone Wolf. The mindsets are the growth mindset or the fixed mindset. So the growth mindset would say, I'm capable of great accomplishment despite or perhaps because of great failure. That failure leads to success. That's the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is that failure indicates failure. And that if you failed a number of times, you're just a failure. Stop doing that. And that's not necessarily a misguided mindset. It may seem like that, but you know, Einstein said that the definition of insanity was doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. So a fixed mindset will tell you the same is the same is the same is the same. Even Einstein will tell you that. But a growth mindset is more apt to say, no, failure is how we learn, and through learning is how we grow, and by growth is how we achieve greatness and thereby accomplish greatness. So two mindsets, growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Taking it back to Stan Lee, was he speaking of a fixed mindset? That he always kind of considered himself incapable or mediocre or never would be a success, and he just couldn't get that mindset out of his head? It seems unlikely because he had such great success in the arts, and the arts are more tuned to a growth mindset And also, they're so rife with failure that it's hard for a person with a fixed mindset to survive in the arts. Because those first few years, man, they're all failure. So the fixed mindset walks away from the arts generally, where the growth mindset can endure the process of failure. So when we hear Stan Lee say, I never really thought of myself as that much of a success, are we really hearing what he thought of himself? Or perhaps it's something else. Perhaps what he meant was, I didn't look at the success. I looked at the process. I looked at the artistic endeavor, and that is where I was looking for success, not so much the monetary success. However, unless his goals were something like, to be a Renaissance master of oils and instead became a comic book creator, I can't imagine why he would be so disappointed. I can't imagine where his artistic goals fell short. He created characters that resonate through the generations. I think both artistically and commercially, Marvel Comics would have to be considered successful. I mean, they just sold the first copy of the Amazing Spider-Man appearance. His first appearance in comic books was sold for, I think, $1.3 million recently at an auction. So, at an auction, like a Sotheby's auction. So that's where they sell paintings by oil masters of the Renaissance era. So that's as good as you can get for a man who never considered himself that much of a success. Perhaps it's that he looked at success in different ways than most people do. Perhaps he thought true success is in being good to the people around me and having stability and a happy community, making the world a better place than I found it. Being the good that I want to see in the world, and all like that. Perhaps he felt that he did not do those things adequately. That he did not adequately provide succor to those around him, those personal, those intimate to him. I don't know anything about the man's intimate life. I don't want to know. But when he says, I never thought of myself as that much of a success, one has to ask, how did you identify success? How did you define success? Not commercially, not artistically perhaps, but personally. Pablo Picasso was certainly a success, commercially and artistically, critically. Was he a success in his personal life? Well known to be a, I don't want to have this video be taken down, but he may never have been called a hole, as Jonathan Richman famously sang, but maybe they never called him a hole to his face. He was certainly regarded as a hole behind his back. So, yes, we have his great art, and that lives throughout the ages, but, might he have died thinking, I never really was as much of a success? Actually, I understand his last words were, you were wrong not to be married, a wife can be useful. But that's a different quote for a different show. Different quips for different quotes. Anyway, it all comes back to Stan Lee. Maybe it was just his sense of humility. Maybe it's just that he didn't really look at himself as the great success, the comic book king. Maybe he just looked at himself as, whatever his actual name was. I'm not sure about it, but I don't think it was just Stan Lee. Might have been. But maybe he just never thought of himself as Stan Lee. He just thought of himself as Stan Lee. A little guy just trying to get by in the world. Never really, lucky to have the mansions. Probably insecure that they'd still be there when he woke up the next morning. He always had a rule that he had to cameo in all the projects, all the TV and film projects of these Marvel adaptations. He wanted a cameo in every movie, And I think he did this in the 70s too. So he wasn't a man who was not mindful of fame to a degree, because he wanted his face to be recognizable to a degree. So, I don't know, complex man, complex quote. I never really thought of myself as that much of a success. That from one of the great successes of the 20th century. So, food for thought for us all. As I hope to provide every other Monday at noon here on Quotes and Quips, right on this YouTube channel. Alternating Mondays are going to feature my new show, Fletcher Rhoden's Pet Peeves. And then you can also check out reruns of Quotes and Quips from 2024. They're still up on this YouTube channel. And there's a 2023 show called Tracking the Lone Wolf. And that's on its own YouTube channel, Tracking the Lone Wolf. There's a book you can buy that goes along with that, as I've mentioned several times, and we'll go on doing so. So, read the books, check out the music, tune in again, and until then, bye, Mary.